and welcome to my fall book haul. I was looking at my bookshelves the other day and I noticed that I'd accumulated quite a fair amount of books in the months of September, October, and November. How? I don't really know, it just kind of happened. So here we go. The first book I have to show you is Wild by Cheryl Strayed, which is going to be a movie with Reese Witherspoon, and I think it comes out in December. Wild is the story of Cheryl Strayed and her decision to hike the Pacific Crest Trail. There's my receipt. Whoops. Basically, her life is in turmoil and she decides with practically no experience whatsoever to hike the Pacific Crest Trail. It sounds reminiscent of stuff like Into the Wild, Thoreau. It has that same going into the wilderness to find yourself feel, and I love stuff like that. Also, I'm writing my honors final paper for the semester on that topic, so I have to read this. I haven't read it yet, but I'm excited to read it. It sounds really good. Next we have Wolf in White Van by John Darnell. My face is just doing all kinds of weird things. In Oxford, there's this thing called Thacker Mountain Radio that happens every Thursday during the fall, and then every Thursday during, I think, the winter spring season, and basically it's an hour-long radio show where they bring in two authors and a kind of country folk music band, and they talk to them, they have them read a bit from their work or perform on the show. And John Darnell, who is actually the lead singer of the Mountain Goats, was on Thacker Mountain Radio a month or so ago, and I got to go see him and meet him and get my copy of Wolf in White Van signed by him, and also my record sleeve for All Hail West Texas, so that was super cool. I don't really know a whole lot about the plot, except it's about this guy who suffered some kind of terrible accident and now he makes these kind of like maze games, and it sounds really interesting and original, and that's all I really know. But it was shortlisted for the National Book Award. I don't know if there's been any update on that yet. I haven't really been keeping up with it, but so it should be really good. Also, Joseph Fink from Welcome to Night Vale has a little blurb on the back, so that's cool too. Next up we have Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. I bought this book because Chuck Palahniuk was coming to Square Books and I wanted to get it signed, but unfortunately I wasn't able to go to the signing, which is upsetting. But he's been to Mississippi a couple times before. He's been to Lemuria, which is the bookstore back in my hometown, and he's been to Square Books, so I'm sure he'll come back sometime and I can have him sign my book. It's about this guy, he meets this other guy, I can't remember either of their names, and they start this fight club, and it's about like mayhem and insanity, and it's super weird. And I've seen almost all of the films, so I know what happens, but I am really excited to read the book because I think it's a little bit different. I don't really know. I've kind of forgotten all of the details about this story, so I'm excited to pick it up and read it. Next we have two poetry books by Pablo Neruda, the first being The Captain's Verses. This is a collection of love poems, and it won the Nobel Prize. I'm not sure when exactly. And it also has a little blurb on the front by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, which says, "The greatest poet of the 20th century in any language." For those of you who don't know anything about Pablo Neruda, he is a Latin American author. I believe he's Chilean, and he's extremely famous for his wonderfully written poetry. I have a quote by him on my wall back here, which you can't really see. Hold on one second. It says, "Las olas dicen a la costa firme todo será cumplido," which means, "and the waves tell the firm coast everything will be fulfilled." I'm not sure which one of his poems that's from. I first got interested in Pablo Neruda when I was taking a creative writing course in my senior year of high school. We read a lot of Pablo Neruda's work, and we also watched the film Il Postino, which is about Pablo Neruda and about poetry, and it was just beautiful, and I absolutely fell in love with him. I haven't started The Captain's Verses yet, but I'm really excited to. Also, this is just a gorgeous book. I'm absolutely in love with the design of this book. And the next book of poetry I have by Pablo Neruda is 100 Love Sonnets. I have actually started reading this. I'm absolutely in love with it. Pablo Neruda is probably one of my favorite poets. He writes the most beautiful, intoxicating lines and verses. And I haven't read a lot of love poetry recently, especially not modern love poetry. I've read some classic love poetry, but mostly when I've been reading modern poets, it's more about personality, I guess you could say, and self or depression. So it's nice to read something that's just about like love and beauty, and it's so lovely to read. Pablo Neruda is absolutely brilliant. And finally we have Nobody Is Ever Missing by Catherine Lacey. This was also a book and author that was featured on Thacker Mountain Radio. I got to go to the show and meet Catherine Lacey and have her sign my book, so that was super cool. I was first drawn to this book because of the cover. Like, that's absolutely gorgeous. My god, and that spine. I really like the spine. This is how you design a cover. Catherine Lacey is also an author who's native to Tupelo, which if you don't know is a city in Mississippi. So I was really excited because I've been wanting to read more fiction by Mississippi authors, and not just like Eudora Welty and William Faulkner and Barry Hannah and Larry Brown, but also like modern Mississippi authors, so I absolutely had to pick this book up. The premise of this story is this woman called Illyria takes a one-way flight to New Zealand. She like leaves her family and hitchhikes through New Zealand, and she's kind of going crazy because I think she's dealing with the death of she's dealing with her sister's death. And it's about her inner turmoil, and it sounds really awesome. It kind of gives me a vibe similar to that of Wild and Into the Wild, of like going into the wilderness to find yourself, though she's not really completely in the wilderness. She is in a more urbanized part of New Zealand, to my knowledge, but it has the same kind of doing something absolutely crazy and going out of your comfort zone to find yourself, so I'm really excited to read this. So those were all the books that I've accumulated over the past couple months of autumn. Let me know what books you guys have bought over the past couple months, if you've read any of these books and enjoyed them, or if you have any suggestions for books you think I would like, leave them in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.